we're going to show you today how Tiimely's Xapii solutions can help you in your hardship use cases. And that's for both lenders and any hardship assistance providers out there. Firstly, I'm Richard Shanahan. I'm Chief Solutions Officer at Tiimely. And for those of you who don't know, Tiimely is a lending technology platform, and we're supporting some of Australia's biggest brands, and we're helping them bring their innovative propositions to market. In my role, I work with our partners in market and industry to help them get the most out of the Xapii solutions. A little bit of housekeeping firstly. If you have any questions or comments today, feel free to add those into the comments window, which you should see on screen, and we'll pick those up at the end of the session. Okay, let's get into it. So firstly, what we're going to run through is we're going to give it a background on hardship for those who aren't familiar with it. And we're going to also talk about the ASIC reports released in May, which provide some really amazing insights into hardship situation in Australia today. Then we're going to go through how the Xapii solutions can help you across the hardship lifecycle. Then we're going to move out of slideware and have a look at a live demonstration. And we're going to leave some time at the end for some questions. Let's have a look firstly at what is hardship. So there are some formal definitions. Here is one that the Australian Financial Complaints Authority uses, but financial hardship is effectively any time that you're temporarily unable to make a repayment on a debt, credit card, home loan, personal loan. And the causes of this financial hardship could include a change in your circumstances or a vulnerability, things like sickness, natural disaster, or even an overcommitment in a credit arrangement. Now, if you haven't had a look at the ASIC hardship reports released around May, I strongly encourage you to do so. They are amazing pieces of research and analysis. There were effectively 250,000 hardship cases collected from 10 major lenders around Australia, and having a look at what are the causes. And when we pulled apart some of the data, what we can see is some really startling stats around hardship. So firstly, hardships on the rise. There were 6 consecutive quarters of data up until December 2023. And if you look at all those 250,000 cases, nearly a quarter of them were received in that last quarter. And year on year, December 23 to 22, it was about a 54% increase. Also concerningly is that 79% of those hardship cases related to the primary place of residence. And, everybody needs a home. Everyone needs to feel secure in their home. Having hardship about not being able to pay a debt commitment on the property you live in can be a significant cause of stress. Macroeconomically, during that same period from July 22 to December 23, there were 11 rate rises, and a couple of those were double whammies at 50 basis points. All that means, particularly for people on variable interest rates for their home loan, is going to add a significant cost of living pressure, and coupled with inflation, we all know the outcome. Looking at the causes, ASIC found that 30% of the reason why people were experiencing hardship is because they were overcommitted on their debt commitments. And that can be because they were borrowing too much. Think about the times when credit was cheaper in Australia post-COVID, and it could also be a result of maybe inadequate assessment. Now, moving forward, if you look at this from the lender's perspective or a hardship assessment provider's perspective, this means it's going to impact your business and organization. So firstly, operationally, increase in hardship is going to mean some new operational expenses to your business. You're going to have to create new processes. You're going to have to mobilize your people. You're going to have to do new training and so on. And that's going to mean new operational expenses in your business. From a compliance and regulation perspective, particularly for lenders, your reporting requirements around hardship and the adherence to the process to making sure your customers have the best possible outcome is really, really strict. And there are really significant regulator and compliance implications, and we all be aware of some very highly publicized large regulator fines issued to some lenders around Australia. All that means is an impact on your bottom line. Now, the worst case scenario, again, in a lender situation, is hardship progresses to a non-performing asset. And that means you're going to need to hold more capital against those assets. You may also need to put in new systems and processes, which means you're going to need to mobilize more capital to invest in that. Now, that comes at an opportunity cost and impacts your competitiveness as a business. Have a look at the hardship life cycle. Now, we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to demonstrate this in a moment to show you how Xapii can help you. There's 3 high-level stages, and we appreciate this is going to be different for every organization. But the first bit is where a consumer or a member contacts an organization to express that they may be experiencing some potential hardship. And it's really important to bear in mind, particularly for lenders, that they could be doing this with multiple financial institutions. Now, regulator says that needs to be as seamless as possible for consumers to communicate their need for hardship assistance. So on a lender or a hardship assessment provider's perspective, they're going to need to undertake what's called a statement of financial position. They're going to need to look at what's your income, your expense, your liability, your cash asset position. And often that's just using what a customer declares about their income because that's deemed the lowest friction. Moving forward, working scenarios. So lenders and hardship assessment providers, they're going to need to be able to workshop that situation using what the customer's provided to them to see, what they can provide in terms of financial assistance, or whether there can be some changes to the financial situation to support a customer getting back into a net cash positive position. And often for lenders, this means a payment plan. It's important for lenders to make sure they're securing some payment against those customer liabilities rather than none. Moving forward, for persistent hardship, or in the situation where a customer just can't get out of it, there may be a need for a deeper financial assessment. So in this case, this is where a lender or a hardship assistance provider needs to have a look at an actual customer's financial position and needs to see, what is a true income, expense, asset, and liability position, and help them work through a good possible outcome. Moving forward, let's have a look at how the Tiimely solutions can help. So Tiimely offers two Xapii solutions. Firstly, Convert. Convert is a highly optimized system which is based upon making the most of what a customer's declared financial position is, leveraging things like our serviceability engine, relevant enrichment, and collection of customer data. And it's going to help you generate a lot of insights, and those insights can be used to help optimize a customer's financial position. For those deeper financial assessments, Xapii Decide lets you bring in data from a variety of sources. It could be statements, it could be pay slips, it could be open banking. We'll bring that together, we'll enrich it, and then we'll help you work out the true financial position. And that can help inform a personalized recovery plan for your customers and members. Tiimely solutions are not just applicable to home lending, but also have some applicability across a range of use cases, and specifically hardship, which we'll then jump to a demo in a moment and show you how it can help. Okay, now I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully that should be coming through for you. Okay, so this is just on our website. If you need more information, I strongly recommend you jump onto our website, have a look under use cases for hardship. There's some more information there, and of course you can reach out and request a demo. Everything we show you today is going to be powered by Tiimely's API. And for those of you who are so inclined, this is all public information. Jump across to our website, launch our API docs, and you can have a look at how we can help power and bolt into either your existing processes or help you develop a new proposition around hardship support. Okay, let's go into today's demo. Now, we're going to run through that life cycle. So imagine firstly, we're now a hardship assessor. We're somebody who's going to be assessing whether a customer is in hardship and how we can help them. What you see here is a very basic data capture form, which can be provided to your people under Xapii. And everything that we do here is going to synchronize into the Xapii platform and provide real-time enrichment and insights into a customer's possession. So you see, as we go through, we'll be syncing off and hitting our API, and we'll show you in the Xapii platform for your users what that looks like. So here we have a pre-filled form here. We see Jenny. She's contacted us via a call center. We've collected some basic financial information, including things about the situation such as age, dependence, and marital status. And we'll come back to why that's useful in a moment. And then we can help you collect any relevant metadata you need about that hardship case, such as account customer numbers, the channel from which it came, the reasons for a hardship. We'll just go ahead and select over commitment here, and whether there are any vulnerabilities. We'll just select age for demonstration, not that 43 is old. Now, we will obviously support you here for multiple applicants. In this example today, we're just going to do the one applicant in Jenny, and we'll move forward. We'll go through and create that assessment, and we'll navigate next to a collection of income. Again, we've just pre-filled this, so you can see Jenny's current employer is Acme. There is some salary we've collected. We've also got some other income types here. Now, this is going to be important because you really want to understand what is Jenny's income position. Xapii has a support for over 14 different categories today, which you can then map through to a calculation of financial position. Here are just a few that we've collected. We'll also, in the case where your customers or your members have any rental properties, there's extensive functionality to support that. So we'll move forward next, and we're going to have a look at our expense position. Now, depending on your processes, if you're capturing customer expense is going to be deemed too frictionful for your customers, you can actually rely on Xapie's ability to pull in things like the household expenditure benchmark, which is going to be based on income, relationship status, and dependence. Here we've pre-populated some living expenses so we can demonstrate how they come through to the internal Xapii view in a moment. And moving through, we're going to go to our final section, which is our liabilities. So you can see here, Jenny does have a property at 123 Juniper Street in Melbourne. There is $312,000, which, if you read the ASIC report, was the median home loan commitment for those live-in properties. There's 25 years remaining on that term. There's on 6.15%. And you can see down here, there's other information around some unsecured debt and HEX liabilities, particularly a credit card there with a $10,000 limit and $2,500 outstanding. So we can go ahead and finalize that assessment, go through and launch Xapii, and we're going to jump across to the Xapii view now, which is just here. Now, again, this is all exposed via API if you want to integrate that with your existing system, but we do provide an extensive user interface where you can come and interact with that data if you need to. We're landing here on our financial summary page, and we'll run through all the other features that Xapii provides in a moment. But firstly, let's have a look at financial summary, because this is really the crux of the financial position assessment. You can see here we've collected a range of information from income, liabilities, expenses, and assets. You can see here all that information from that form is now mapped through, and we aggregated that up to, in this case, a net monthly surplus. And as you can see there, based on what Jenny's told us, $243 in the red each month at the moment. So yes, based on what Jenny's situation, there is potential hardship being experienced here. Now, why Xapii is powerful is we can run these calculations on serviceability on a range of data sources, but also give you a lens to what is that cash position each month based on what a customer tells us, also what's been detected, and we'll come to that in a moment, and also what's validated in case your hardship assessors need to step in and make any necessary adjustments. We'll blend all that together to give you the best outcome. And at the moment, Jenny, you're 243 in the red each month. Moving down just our financial summary to give you a bit more feel, we summarise net eligible income, and this includes things like managing tax rates and any levies that are relevant, living expense functionality, and the total debt commitment with any of your hardship policy or your risk appetite policy settings configured in the system for you. Giving you an example of that, you can see here are the the 5 income types collected, converted into a monthly gross figure. But you can see here under the eligible column, we can actually apply haircuts to you. So if in a hardship assessment, you wanted to say overtime is a little more, it fluctuates. So you might want to discount that. In this case, we've applied an 80% discount. That is entirely up to you. You configure this in line with your policy and process, but it just gives you an idea of the control you have. Additionally, if we look at living expenses, so we will pull in the relevant HEM benchmark for you. That's the household expenditure measure based on Jenny's situation. That's around $3,200 a month. But based on what Jenny's declared, we can see $4,500. We'll blend that together and give you an eligible net expense position for you. Now, again, that's entirely up to you how you want to configure that. This is just an example. But, if I'm an assessor looking at this, I could maybe then have a conversation to say, maybe there's some areas of our expenditure we can look at to bring you more in line with a standard benchmark such as HEM. And then obviously we'll break that down for your liabilities as well. There's information around credit cards, personal loans, home loans, and any HEX debt if applicable. Okay, so looking at this, I feel now informed. I can have a conversation with Jenny. That could be over the phone, or could be via communications. We can help work through this negative 243 to see if we can improve Jenny's situation. Let's jump back to our form here. And what we have is a little scenario workshop, which is all powered by the Xapii API. And we're going to do a bit of what-if analysis. The first thing we can do here is we can go through and we can apply, think of them like template settings. So you've got a standard credit policy or a hardship policy, and you might want to have a few different adjustments you could apply. For example, we're removing any interest rate buffers. We might be able to remove any haircuts. Again, you can have any number of these you want. for any scenario. It's just going to make it easier for your people to get to a workshop scenario quickly. So if we remove an interest rate buffer here, let's just update our results. A little comparison here of that 243. It's improved the position by $30. I think we can do better. So we'll just revert that back to our default. And then we're going to go through and have a look at some adjusting credit interest rates. So imagine if you can put Jenny onto your hot new front book rate, which, let's say, for argument's purposes, it's $589. Let's see if that improves the situation for that 312,000 outstanding. You know what? It's helping, but we can, again, do better. Perhaps there's a situation where you can do a product variation, change the loan term. We'll just run that through, see if we're getting closer here. It's helping. But remember previously we had a look at that credit card. Now, credit cards do have a significant impact in a traditional serviceability calculation. We know there's only 2,000 outstanding. What if we were to reduce Jenny's limit down to 2, get the results? Hopefully, we'll now be back to a position that's going to look favorable for Jenny. Great. Excellent. So, Jenny, you know what? If we take that credit rate down, we'll help you out with your interest rate. Our credit limit down, we'll help you out with the interest rate. We can get you back into the green. Jumping back to Xapii, all that information will sync through here. As you can see, we're now 228 in the green. That's fantastic. So you can then, lenders traditionally in this case, put together either a payment plan if there's a change to a minimum payment, or they'll action those changes to any of those customer liabilities on their side, and there'll be a check-in process. Now let's imagine Jenny comes back to us in 3 months, or we reach out to her in 3 months and we have another chat to her to see how she's going. Maybe we notice that there's payments haven't been made in full or they've been missed. We can come back and have a look at it. You can pick up the same application here in Xapii and have a look at what was assessed at the time, again, through what's on the screen. And obviously you can generate a PDF summary report, which can be stored in our document management system to have a look at where you were, where Jenny is now. And if you need to, you can do a deeper financial assessment. Let's have a look at what that looks like now. I'm going to jump across to this other tab here. And we have one that's preloaded here with data for Jenny. And in this case, we've added another applicant into her situation. This can be done through, we can update that financial position through the form we showed you before, or through an API integrating directly. Xapii really comes to life with detected data, and I'm going to spend a couple of moments just talking you through what you're seeing on the screen here, and then showing you how this can inform deeper conversations with your customers or members. First thing to notice is we can see that there is some income, expense, and asset liability situation that's flowed through. We can see the metadata around when that information has been provided, and we can also see the different types of data, accounts, transactions, financial institutions that are underpinning this financial assessment. And that's going to be really important. Again, remember, for lenders in particular, if a customer is having a conversation with you about hardship, they're probably having a conversation with another lender too. But this gives you the ability to have a look at those relationships. Now, we're going to move through to our account screen, and this is going to give us a summary of the accounts that have been linked. So you can see here for Jenny and the other applicant here, the various financial institutions, the account types, the age of the data that we've been linked, and some information about limits and balances. You'll also see source. Now, source is telling us that where the data underpinning the assessment has come from. Now, Xapii can support a range of data. So firstly, we can support, if you trust data scraping and aggregation, we can link to a number of popular providers. We'll manage that integration for you. If you have your own data, which in the case of lenders, you can pipe that through to us and we will do the enrichment using our AI models on top of that. We also support OCR. So if you upload bank statements or you collect those from your customer, we will digitize that, converting it into a programmatic form of account and transaction data. And of course, if you have open banking data, we can support the integration and then enrichment and assessment of that information too. Looking at our account summary, there's a couple of call outs I just want to make quickly. Firstly, we have some flags. If you can configure any potentially risky behavior that you want to have a look for inside Xapii, let's go and have a look at what that looks like. I'm going to jump down to our detailed transaction view here. I'm going to filter on high risk and just drop that account. And we're going to see if there's any high risk transactions. Straight away, I can see there's 4 potentially high risk transactions, 3 from ING and 4 from that Commonwealth account. Why have they been deemed high risk? In this case, maybe you'd want to configure that a buy now, pay later provider was potentially a high-risk merchant. We'll automatically detect that for you and serve it up. Similarly, if you wanted to flag up potential recreational gambling, online gambling, we'll look that for you. And we can also model potentially risky cash withdrawal behavior, which could be multiple cash withdrawals in a large day, large withdrawals in proximity of other vendors or merchants, and also where cash is potentially over a certain threshold of your monthly expenses. We can also model up any of the adverse transaction behavior. And these are things like where it could be a late payment fee, or in this case, an account has been overdrawn. Xapii will also do the heavy lifting for you around any of the internal transactions, because effectively that's going to be noise. But in this case, this is a transaction that's internal, and it has, in this instance, overdrawn an account. But the idea is you can have a look at this very easily, and you can make the relevant adjustments where you need to go through and say, let's just remove that. You can quickly remove those flags if you ever needed to as well. Back to our account summary. There's some other functionality here which can be important. So obviously the data that's going to be provided will be based on what a customer consents or what you have in your core banking systems. But we can also model up where there's potentially some undisclosed accounts which may also exist. So in this case, we can see there's been a couple of transactions off for a total of 2,700 to another account. That can help you have a meaningful conversation with a customer. Go, hey, just notice, is there any other information that you needed to link? Is there another provider? Do you have any other debt commitments? That's the idea of our undisclosed account functionality. Just moving through some of the other features for Xapii here on detected data. Income is obviously going to give you a detailed breakdown, not only of the income that's been declared, but also any of the income that's been detected in our enrichment engine. So you can see here we found some salary, government benefits, some rental income, potential interest. So again, you can have a meaningful conversation. We also can configure little validation rules. Again, this is entirely in line with what your hardship policy or your processes and practice are. In this case, we're just going to be comparing what a customer is telling us with what we find inside a tolerance to see, yeah, you know what, I can validate that Jenny's actually earning around about 180,000 gross per annum. Down to expenses. Again, now this is going to be a key point for discussion. Again, all those data sources have come together. We've extracted all the data, we've enriched it, we've put it through our validation engine, and we're presenting the results up. You can see here, we'll play back any of the declared expense position that's been provided. We'll also go through and we'll do the categorization for you. Now, the idea is this will give you a high-level summary, but if you need to step into detail, Xapii makes it easy for you to drill down. In this case, having a look at all the cash withdrawals that are coming through. To our asset and liability position next, again, we will play back to you any of the declared information that's been provided to you. And again, that's iterative. You can collect that as many times as you need to through discussions with your customers and members. And then we'll obviously validate any of the actual customer liability position we find in the data. So we found some home loans here. We found a couple of credit cards. We also found some personal loans. And again, those little tiles just help you take some of the manual steps out of your process in terms of validating a financial position. And in this case, we've captured some information around properties. So all of that comes together to give you a really good financial position. We have some extensive document management functionality in here again, so that can be important for storing prior assessments generated via our report, your own notes and internal pieces, but it also lets you take advantage of some of the document intelligence we have baked into Xapii. I'm just going to run through a couple of those bits here. So you can see, first bit, we will automatically classify account types when they're uploaded. Now, the upload can happen through our document API, through your own customer-facing tools or your own CRM, or you can leverage our document uploader here to put those into the document store. Firstly, we'll classify those types. We'll then look at whether we can digitize those. So in this case, we can see this ING statement has been digitized, and we provide a document viewer so you can have a look at the underlying PDF or JPEG or PNG. And that information that you'll see here in a moment has already been extracted, enriched, and digitized through the Xapii platform. And you were seeing that before in the prior screens. We will also go through if you need to ever capture anything in like a a tax return or a notice of assessment, and obviously that will have some private information such as tax file returns, we can automatically redact that information for you and make sure you're meeting your privacy and compliance obligations. There you go. It's an example. And of course, anytime you need to and make any annotations through the system in Xapii, we have an extensive notes functionality here, which can let you capture all those annotations. Really easy to view on the dashboard here as well as that assessment process progresses. And then importantly, you can move through to our financial summary, which is having a look at, okay, we have now collected some data. And as you can see in these 3 columns here, we've got what the customer has declared, we've got what's been detected, and we have what's been validated. And that's if you need to step into any of the assessments as in your processes and make any adjustments, we'll capture that information here and we can blend that together to give you the best possible outcome. In this example, given the test dummy data, you can see that, you know what, Jenny and Ethan are actually looking okay. We don't think they're in hardship anymore, and that can inform your next discussions that you may have with your customers. Look, hopefully that's given you a good view of the Xapii use case and how it can help you across the financial hardship lifecycle. There's extensive functionality, obviously API first, so we can integrate with your existing processes. If you don't have that, then we can obviously provide that internal data capture form and our Xapii UI to help your people work through those cases. And we'll go through to our summary screen. Let's have a look and see what we've seen today. Firstly, you've worked through the Xapii solutions and how that can help you from really light touch financial assessments with no customer friction, all the way to a deeper assessment. We've recapped that fantastic ASIC analysis from May and the findings from the report 782 and 783. Again, if you haven't read them, go and have a look. We've had a look at what this means in terms of a growing hardship scenario, what it means for lenders and hardship assistance providers. And we've hopefully shown to you today how Xapii is applicable across that hardship lifecycle. Okay, we'll throw over to some questions and answers now. Okay, great. First question, how easy is it to integrate Xapii? Again, strongly encourage you to go and have a look at our API documentation. There are some how-to guides. Effectively, what you've seen today, if you took, for example, just the first slice, which is a really light touch financial assessment using customers declared position, there's really, let's say there's 3 API endpoints you need to integrate with, which is really just getting the data in securely and getting those serviceability results out. And it's really that simple. We provide extensive APIs around document management, around triggering data collection, and obviously more detailed results. Again, depending on where you are in terms of your system and your stack, it's up to you of how many you want to integrate, but the light touch is 3 endpoints to get it in and get the data out. So obviously what you've seen today is Xapii, we're solution agnostic. Right, so the Xapii solutions in Convert and Decide can be used for a number of use cases as we've demonstrated today. What we're seeing today is people using it for lending assessment, but also finding that serviceability assessment and the highly configurable engine that underpins Xapii can be used across your customer lifecycle. So that can help your customers in life, and that could be for a product variation, or in this case, where they may be potentially experiencing hardship. And the beauty of Xapii is it will collect the history of that customer interaction over time as well. Okay, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We trust this has been informative and insightful. Again, if you have any questions or you'd like to see more and talk to our sales and solutions team as to how we can tailor that for your use case, visit tiimely.com, use cases hardship, and request a demo, and we'll be in touch. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.